Sometimes the internet feels like one giant therapy session that nobody really signed up for. People are out there reacting, venting, defending, attacking, spiraling, and we all call it content. Collargate, whatever that even is, could have been anything. A celebrity saying something controversial, a leaked video, a misunderstanding that exploded into a moral war. But what really matters isn't the event itself. It's what it reveals about us, about how we think, how we feel, how we deal with conflict, shame, and belonging. The truth is, most of what we call drama online is actually a reflection of our collective emotional dysregulation. It's like everyone's nervous system is on edge, scanning for threats, waiting for the next thing to be outraged about. And when something like Collargate happens, it's like a spark in a room filled with gas. Everyone reacts, not just to the event, but to what it represents to them personally. Some people see injustice and feel rage. Others see unfair judgment and feel defensive. Some just want to belong, so they join whichever side feels safest. The problem is, in this whole process, almost nobody is listening. The internet gives us the illusion of communication, but what we're actually doing most of the time is projecting. We take our own unresolved emotions, anger, shame, insecurity, and we attach them to the latest controversy. It's cathartic. It feels like moral clarity, but it's actually emotional displacement. That's what fascinates me about these viral moments. They're not just about information, they're about identity. Every reaction becomes a performance of who we think we are. You're not just tweeting your opinion, you're signaling your values, your belonging, your moral compass. And when we do that collectively, the internet becomes this massive, chaotic mirror reflecting humanity's emotional chaos back at itself. When I say just Vibin, I mean something that sounds casual but actually isn't. Vibing, in the healthiest sense, is about being grounded in your own emotional state while witnessing what is happening around you without getting swept away. But most of us don't vibe, we absorb, we internalize the noise. We scroll through outrage until we feel it in our bodies. That tightening in your chest when you see people fighting online, that's not abstract, that is your nervous system reacting as if you're in danger. So when I see something like Collargate, I don't just see a scandal. I see millions of tiny stress responses firing all over the world. People doom scrolling, refreshing, arguing in comment sections, hearts racing, minds flooded with dopamine and cortisol. It's not even about the event anymore. It's about the feeling of participation. You feel alive when you're angry. You feel powerful when you're righteous. But afterward, you feel empty. That's the paradox of online outrage. It gives you a temporary sense of purpose, but it burns out fast. And then you're left with this emotional hangover, drained, cynical, detached. The same dopamine system that drives addiction drives outrage too. Every new controversy is like another hit. It's emotional stimulation disguised as moral engagement. But here is the part most people don't talk about. The people at the center of these controversies, the ones being canceled, mocked, dissected, they're human beings too. When you're the target of a global emotional reaction, your brain doesn't see it as criticism. It sees it as social death, or wired to survive in tribes. Being ostracized triggers the same neural circuits as physical pain. So when someone becomes the villain of the week, it's not just drama. It's psychological violence, not just to them, but to everyone watching who unconsciously fears becoming the next target. We live in a culture where shame is currency. Outrage gets engagement. Engagement gets clicks, and clicks keep the machine running. And so we've built an ecosystem that rewards emotional dysregulation. The more extreme your reaction, the more visible you become. The calm voices, the nuanced takes, they get drowned out because calm doesn't trend. But underneath all of this chaos, I think there's something profoundly human going on. People are desperate to feel connected, to feel seen, to feel like they belong to something meaningful. The internet just gives us a distorted way to express that need. We mistake intensity for intimacy. We mistake shared anger for community. It's not that people are bad. It's that they're lonely, and outrage gives them a temporary way to feel less alone. What's even more interesting is how our brains interpret all this. When you watch a controversy unfold, your brain doesn't really distinguish between online and real life. The same neural pathways that light up during social conflict in person light up when you read a heated comment thread. That's why you can feel anxious or enraged by something that technically has nothing to do with your actual life. Your body doesn't know that this argument between strangers isn't happening in your living room. And that's what makes something like Collargate so emotionally draining. It's not just the content, it's the constant activation of your emotional system. Each reaction video, each tweet, each think piece becomes another hit of cortisol, another spike in arousal. Your nervous system doesn't get a chance to reset. Over time, this leads to emotional fatigue. You become desensitized, cynical, numb. You stop believing in good intentions. You start expecting conflict everywhere. The sad part is that this state of emotional exhaustion doesn't just stay online. It spills into real life. You start reacting to people in your actual relationships with the same defensiveness and mistrust you've learned from social media. You assume bad faith. You interrupt. You don't listen. Because your brain has been trained to see every interaction as a potential argument. So, what does just Vibin look like in a world like this? I think it's about cultivating emotional distance, not apathy, but awareness. It's being able to witness the chaos without being consumed by it. It's being curious instead of reactive. When you see something like Collargate blowing up, instead of jumping in, you pause. You ask, what does this bring up in me? Why am I feeling this urge to comment, to take a side? That's how you begin to reclaim your emotional autonomy from the algorithm. It's not easy, though. The entire system is designed to keep you emotionally hooked. Outrage gives you dopamine. Validation gives you oxytocin. Disagreement gives you adrenaline. Every post, every notification, every argument is manipulating your neurochemistry. And it's not even malicious, it's just how the system works. But when you become aware of it, you can start to detach. You can start to see the pattern instead of being trapped inside it. What fascinates me most about the human brain is how adaptable it is and how vulnerable it is to reward loops. We think we're rational creatures, but most of our online behavior is driven by conditioned responses. You feel an emotion, you express it online, you get feedback, likes, replies, validation, and your brain goes, okay, that worked. Over time, you're not even reacting to the event anymore. You're reacting to the feeling of being part of the reaction. This is where I think modern life has become psychologically unsustainable. We're living in a state of constant emotional simulation without emotional processing. We react to everything, but we integrate nothing. That's why people feel so empty after the outrage fades. The brain was designed to experience emotion as a cycle: activation, expression, resolution. But online, the resolution never comes. The next outrage starts before the last one ends. Collargate might just be a symbol, but it represents the loop we're all trapped in. We're vibing, but not in the peaceful sense. We're vibing in the overstimulated, anxious sense. Everyone's reacting to everyone else's reactions. And the only way out ISN to log off forever, it has to build awareness. Awareness of your emotional triggers. Awareness of your body's responses. Awareness of the fact that behind every username is a nervous system just like yours, tired, overstimulated, and trying to make sense of a world that moves too fast for real reflection.